Welcome to Northern Wild Harvest. If you're just discovering our channel, we do large-scale foraging adventures across Canada. This is episode 2 of our 2023 Morel season. You can find the first episode here on our channel. In the previous episode, we began our journey on Vancouver Island near the US-Canada border. After crossing the Georgia Strait and bypassing the city of Vancouver, we traveled through the coastal wetlands of the Fraser Valley and into the mountains. Following the iconic Fraser Canyon alongside the railway, we passed out of the mountains and into BC's semi-desert, where we continued road tripping into the heart of BC until finally reaching Prince George, the hub of the north. Leaving civilization, we continued east through a shallow mountain pass between the central and northern Rocky Mountains, before turning onto the Alaska Highway. As we began to run out of daylight, we had to dodge forest fires and bears, and were forced to drive late into the night because of extreme smoke from the fires. As we were coming dangerously close to ascending into the northern Rockies in the dark, we made the decision to stop at a pullout alongside the road on the edge of Steamboat Mountain. We're ready to carry on here, and we're going to head up Steamboat Mountain now and enjoy this next section of BC, which in my opinion is one of the most beautiful areas in the province. A little after 6 in the morning here, and we're going to hit the road again. After this point, we'll start climbing an elevation to pass through the great northern Rockies. Normally the views from this stretch on the Steamboat Mountain here are quite beautiful, but you can't see anything with this smoke. There goes another bear. Got a nice little moose right down there.
Got a moose.
If it's not smoke, it's dust. Starting to see some blue sky. I think the smoke is starting to clear. So once this dust clears, we might get some nice views. We've still got a couple full days ahead of us. This whole journey that we've been on, we don't actually know where we're going exactly. That's the thing about morel picking, is the ground is changing every year. You're chasing the wildfires, so you're never sure. You're traveling this huge distance, but you don't really know exactly where you're going to end up, and that's part of the adventure. It's both thrilling and a little bit anxiety-inducing.
Let's go to the Yukon.
We've just stopped here for a short break. When you look that way, it's still very smoky. And then when you come and you look this way, it's not as bad. So we're definitely slowly getting out of the smoke. It's still a little bit hazy over there, but not as bad as back that way. As you can see, here's us. This is the start of the real northern Rockies. So we're getting close now. We're just in the foothills. Traveling into the wildlands of BC, we start to see the trees transition to boreal forest. The winters are so cold this far north that the trees are adapted, or in some cases stunted, by the extreme weather. Although many of the tree species are the same as further south, they are visually different in boreal forests, as you can see here. Usually dominated by black spruce, the crown of the boreal spruce is densely packed with branches. Permafrost is also common in boreal forests, especially in the small bogs that are scattered through the boreal lowlands. A semi-permanent layer of frozen soil is located under the ground, stopping trees from becoming deeply rooted in many places. Each year there is some thaw and refreeze, or ebb and flow, to the upper layer of permafrost, which can provide the trees with some temporary water during dry spells. Another common feature of boreal forests is muskeg, a thick conglomerate of plants primarily composed of peat moss, which creates an insulating ground cover layer. Because of the densely crowned trees and thick moss, which often dries out in the late summer, wildfires become a natural part of a boreal forest's life cycle.
Barbecue!
Stone Mountain. Very fitting name for such a place.
It's a stone.
It's just one massive stone. We're now beginning to ascend into the northern Rockies, heading into the first valley located along the eastern edge of the mountains. Not far to the west of our current location is British Columbia's largest wilderness area, a portion of which is protected. It's part of a location known as the Muskwa. Also known as the lungs of the earth, the Muskwa gets its name from the Cree word bear, and it hosts some of the highest density wildlife in North America. The Muskwa and the Ketchikan rivers flow into this pristine wilderness. It is a location with very little human disturbance from modern industry. To put it in perspective, the Muskwa Ketchikan is larger than the size of Ireland, and its untouched forests filter an incredible amount of carbon from the atmosphere annually. Its geographical location puts it deep into the wildlands between the Cassiar and the Alaska Highway, with no other road access. The only way in is by float plane and then pack mule. Let's hope it stays that way for a long time to come. Our first glimpse at the northern Rockies. Here we are at Summit Lake. They're little caribou. Let's take a look at this lake. Stone Mountain's pretty cool.
We just passed Summit Lake, and now we're about halfway to Muncho Lake, one of my favorite lakes in the world. When you get there at the right time, especially early mornings, it's just so beautiful. The reflections, the mountains, the lake. Anyways, glad you're along with us. Sorry about all the smoke. Let's get to it.
Over there.
Cold water for the traveling Yorkshireman. How you doing, eh?
There's another little one here. Oh, that's a sad sight.
Caribou, dead moose.
Yeah, dead moose. Muncho Lake. After climbing past Summit Lake, we have arrived at the brilliant Muncho Lake of the Northern Rockies. We have spent some time here in the past admiring its beauty, either camping or staying at the Northern Rockies Lodge, a common location where bush pilots will fly deeper into the Muskwa from. This is the perfect location to stop and rest. We're more than halfway through our journey north, and this year we have decided to take our time traveling to the Yukon. Many times in the past we have done this journey in only 3 days, but this year we have chosen to take much longer so that we can showcase the dramatic landscapes that BC has. Okay, we've arrived at the beautiful Muncho Lake. It's a little bit smoky, so you don't get the full experience, but you can see just how big this lake is, nestled up here in the Northern Rockies, and it's just beautiful. So after a couple days on the road, we've decided to take a bit of a break here. We're gonna hike up the stream that leads into this lake, up into the mountains a little ways, and check out some hoodoos and some rock features up in the canyon there. Here's a BC Parks map of the entire Muskwa. And this is bigger than the size of Ireland, this area. And the darker green areas are the fully protected areas. So we've come along this road here, and right now we are here. So we are in the Muskwa, but we're on the highway section of it, and the mountains sort of come along like this. So in here is the real protected valley area that almost nobody goes, and very few people on this planet have even seen unless you're flying over. So this here is one of the most pristine wildernesses left on the earth, and we're just on the edge of it here. You ready to go for a hike? So this is a wild juniper berry. This is where they're harvested. They're very common up here. So the berries will form the year before and then ripen the following year. One of the more dominant smells when you smell gin is the juniper berry.
Yeah, it's like peppery and then kind of like a blueberry.
Mm-hmm.
Not as sweet, but a little bit of that taste.
These ones are sweeter than most I've had before.
They're just kind of peppery though.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Not the greatest texture, but the flavor is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna hike up this valley here and fly the drone, get some nice shots of the mountains, get really into there rather than just seeing it from the road. So right away, Randy spotted some interesting geology. Look at this. Crystallized. Very cool.
Look at this one. Some of the edges are almost polished.
Starting to find some very light muskeg, and in it is Labrador tea. You know, you got Labrador tea and juniper berries right there. There's just abundant forageable things, plants and fruit. Check out these erosion formations here, these little hoodoos. They're funky. And there's more up here, and these ones over here have these big rocks balanced right on top. It's crazy.
There's a bunch along here. Yeah, here, over there, right there.
Mountain water.
As we're walking up this canyon, the air is just blowing down past us, and it's like the freshest air ever.
We heard a story from a guy who looked like an old gold miner. There was a mine shaft up in these hills here. We're gonna see if there's gold in them hills.
Let's find this shaft.
And the leaves are fringing.
Randy.
This rock is pretty slippery.
We found the old gold miner shaft. Check this out. Right on the side of the cliff. Okay, I'm going in. See how far it is. Nice and cool in here. Okay, so we've got our shaft. Wow, we're right inside the earth now. That goes to nothing. We'll check this way. Wow. It's just looking a little bit too unstable this far in, but you can see it keeps going. This one's caved in, hey? There's another shaft that looks like you could probably get in there, but you'd be crawling. It's pretty hot out right now. We're looking at this lake. How you doing, eh? On the road. Next stop, somewhere very special. Soon we'll be descending from the beautiful northern Rockies, but we'll only be traveling a short distance today, Anyone familiar with this region of BC probably knows why. Liard Hot Springs.
Just enjoyed Muncho Lake for a little while, and now we're about to go to our next destination, which is Liard, for the hot spring.
So we've arrived at the amazing Liard River Hot Springs, and we're gonna have some lunch and relax, and then go enjoy the hot springs. So it's the May long weekend, and the campsite was fully reserved. So ironically, we've ended up basically in a rest stop again this time. But tonight, we have to pay to stay in this rest stop. It's not free like last night. Before we walk down into the beautiful hot springs, we're going to check out this forest, because there's a whole bunch of birch trees in here. We might find some chaga. We have harvested chaga in this area before. There's a number of different types of tree in here. Predominantly it's these trembling aspen, and from a distance they can look very similar to a birch. Like you see here, these are trembling aspen. This one's a trembling aspen, but these are birch. The biggest giveaway, if you're not familiar with them, is they have bark that peels like this. Our Alec thinks he spotted some, but whether or not we can reach it is usually the question. So right there's a chaga canker, but there's no way we're getting that one. Here's a similar looking canker, but this is on a cottonwood tree, so this is not a chaga, but it looks quite similar. So this tree has 1, 2 cankers here and here, but there's a little bird's nest here, so we're gonna leave this one alone. We don't want to disturb that bird's nest. Besides, we can see a huge one over that way. You might have heard before that you could only harvest chaga in the winter, and that's not true. It's just easier to harvest chaga in the winter, so it's recommended to harvest it in the winter because you can see through the trees a lot easier. Here's a little chaga, and there's a number of ways to get these. If you have a flush tree, you can use like a silky handsaw, but we don't right now, so we're gonna just try to pop off part of it with a knife. As long as you're not getting into this cambium, you don't do any harm to the tree in any way. There we go, just a little bit of oomph, and it popped right off. So the wound is already there on the tree because of the mushrooms, so we're not creating that wound. This way it can actually try to heal, or the chaga will regrow. But there you go. Nice chunk. So we'll dry this back, and this makes an excellent tea that's full of antioxidants. It doesn't have an amazing flavor, but it has so many health benefits you can look up, and it lasts forever, and you can get so many batches of tea out of one chunk like this. The real challenge with the chaga is just finding them at a height where you can reach them without an extendable ladder. One right there that we can't reach, it's just a little too tall. It's not that big. If you ever wondered why I'm always wearing pants and not shorts, even when it's really hot out, I was like 10 minutes wearing shorts. He's all cut red from roses and other underbrush. At the end of this long boardwalk are the hot spring pools, but the entire surrounding area is a hot water bog, stretching far beyond the actual swimming area. Because of the heat of the water, it's actually very clear and clean, which is not what you would normally expect from a boreal swampland. Moose are common in this area, and seeing a full-grown male basking in the midnight sun, surrounded by steam and twisted bonsai tamarack trees, is a truly magical sight. This area is a diversity hub for both flora and fauna. Over the years, we've exchanged stories with travelers who stop here, like us, to rest and relax during a long trip through northern Canada. When was the first time you came to Liard Hot Springs?
Early 90s.
Was this boardwalk here?
Yep, it's always been here.
So the ferns that it's mentioning here are growing right over here. And these are the ones that are safe to harvest and consume as fiddleheads when they're young. This variety right here. So that's the ostrich fern, and other varieties of fern, people mistakenly eat them, but they have carcinogenic properties. These ones are safe to eat. Well, we just had a dip in the hot springs for about 2 hours, but I brought the wrong underwater camera, so I couldn't bring the camera into the pool. So I'll have to come back in the morning. Join us in the next episode where we further explore the hot springs before crossing far into the Yukon Territory on our way to the first target wildfires. If you enjoyed the video, then like and subscribe for more content. You can also find our online shop linked in the description below. Thanks for watching.